Okay. Whew. Man, we are back. Wow. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Saturday Beard Live with Justin, the 3-year beard. It's only been 8 months so far. Welcome. Hopefully, you guys are having a great weekend. I'm having a good one too. Um, kind of a little tired, but ended up taking a nap and I'm back. I'm up and just celebrated my daughter's birthday. She had a nice little birthday party, and it was fun. It was nice and chill. She's young. She's 9, so it's not a big deal. But it was a big deal to her. She had fun, and yeah, kind of tired me out. I had to be the host and the moderator. I think I haven't been like a children's host since I used to work at the YMCA back in like during like after my college years back in like 2007 or so. But yeah, I mean, I'm no longer a leader slash teacher, at the YMCA. I'm a physical therapist assistant. At least that's what I'll be next year, starting next year. But yeah, I'm just a rehab tech. One of those guys who just goes around the gym, cleans up, organizes, and helps out assist therapists along the way. So, yeah, it's been a fun weekend. Hopefully, you guys are having a good weekend too. And yeah, I can't say enough about this awesome beard. It's looking more filled in, it's looking a little bit longer. And, you know, how do I get it to be the way it looks like now? Well, obviously, genetics, that's one thing. And then another thing, um, a bunch of Weatherbeard products. Weatherbeard. Weatherbeard. I use Weatherbeard like constantly. This is like my number one go-to beard product, Weatherbeard. This is their beard oil, Amber Trail. Um, so essentially what I do, ooh, it's nice and smells nice and sweet. Kind of like a potpourri type of, amber, sandalwood, and oud. So definitely can smell the amber, the sandalwood, and the oud. So, yeah. Essentially, what you're trying to do is you're trying to keep the skin on the surface, right in your beard, the skin, the follicles that, house these and, grow these hairs. Basically, you want them nice and moisture. And for some people, there's you like produce a lot of oils on your skin. There's only about maybe 2%. This is what I learned just recently from another guy that I follow on Instagram and TikTok. There's only like a 2% of the population that don't need beard oil. And when I say that is there's only 2% of people that are almost genetically inclined to produce enough oils on their skin so they don't need beard oil. They just produce enough oils and that's great. There are some people in the beard population that need beard oil badly because they don't produce enough oils on their skin and their skin gets very dry. So beard oil is definitely the first thing to do. The second thing to do, the first thing to do is wash your beard with a nice beard wash. Not any normal wash, but just like a beard wash. It's a very softer wash. It doesn't strip all the oils from the skin, but it just, exfoliates and it kind of loosens up, some of the daily grime, the stuff that your beard collects over time. So again, we don't want our beard to smell like dirty old cheese. We want our beard to smell nice and clean, so that way it can like produce and make enough, follicles to thrive to make all this hair and stuff. So yeah, and of course it's genetic. It's from like a genetic, from one person to the next. Where all beards are not going to look the same. And if it were the case of just like shaving your beard constantly and then your beard hair kind of grows thicker and thicker, we'd all have like Paul Bunyan beards or some type of like Viking beard by now, right? But that's not the case. It's just based off of your family's genetics and your family's genetics and your family's genetics, and so forth. Your family lineage is a nice story about what your beard says and what your beard shows. So it's pretty interesting. And then the third thing you want is either some beard butter or beard balm. I usually like beard butter because it's helps soften the follicles during the day, keeps your beard nice and moist and not so much very crusty, because beards can get crusty and dry easily over time. And after you put on the beard oil to the skin, you brush your beard down with a good beard comb, preferably some carbon fiber beard combs that are anti-static. There's one from Live Bearded right here. And then, of course, the one that I just showed, the smaller one, mostly for my mustache, the Chicago company. Right, yeah, there you go. That one you can find on Amazon. But Live Bearded is a great product because it's 100% natural oils and ingredients specifically for your beard. It's been tested and proven that it works very well with your skin, and it's just like all natural stuff. So you can't complain. You can't say that it doesn't work because, hey, look at my beard now. I've been using it for ever since like maybe month 2 or 3, and it's looking great. I can't thank Weatherbeard enough for the amount of beard product that I was able to, that they were able to provide me, and that way I can keep my beard nice and healthy looking. So yeah, thank you Weatherbeard, as well as Live Bearded. Live Bearded is another company that I like to, use their beard products because they also have a good high quality standard to their ingredients as well as their smells, and so Live Bearded and Weatherbeard is definitely those two that I primarily use. I'm using this leave-in conditioner because, again, my beard can get a little bit Brillo, like very, very like just it's thick, it's bushy and it's thick, and putting in a leave-in conditioner helps lock in that moisture, so that way it doesn't go crusty throughout the day and dry. So yeah, I can't thank Live Bearded and Weatherbeard enough for their products. They are great products. Check them out. You can find them anywhere on the socials, anywhere on Amazon. They're definitely very accessible for the type of beard lifestyle that you want. Especially, all the different products from Live Bearded and Weatherbeard have very specific beard style scents that any type of beard grower aficionado would appreciate and like. So check them out. I also got something because I know that my beard is going to get longer. Hopefully it's going to get longer. There are some guys where I've seen that they've been trying to grow a beard longer, and it's taken them like years, and they only kind of like stay at like a certain level of length, which can be a good blessing to some, but for others, they want that long beard, which, I think that based off of your genetics, you just kind of have to roll with what you are given. Just like how I got to roll with what I was given on the top of my head, with my hair. Just like I have to kind of, work. Because again, different styles of beards can have a little bit more of a maintenance issue, because now that I got more hair, in my beard, I have to use a lot more beard products to kind of keep it, nice and maintained, including this new product that I got. It's called Wild Willie's Beard Straightener. And I just got it just recently. I haven't opened it up and I haven't used it yet, but I hear that it's a great product, especially for beards like this. Eventually, I started noticing 10 years ago when I first grew my beard for a year, that was the issue. I didn't use a lot of beard straighteners. I kind of like knew about it because eventually my beard was starting to kind of go like this, and honestly, I can't even really compare it because the first time that I grew my beard 10 years ago for a year, I ended up doing it completely wrong. I didn't like put in any beard product for the first 6 months. And when I did started putting beard product in, honestly, it wasn't really beard product. It was just like, some makeshift conditioners, and I was definitely using regular shampoos, and that probably wasn't good because, you shouldn't be using regular shampoos or soaps that, are going to dry out your follicles, make it clog up, and then just have a really bad breeding ground of, of efficiency for your beard. You want to use softer washes because that's why there is such thing as beard washes. It's a lot less astringent, and you can just, assure that you can wash your beard and not dry out your skin in the process. So here we go. I'm really excited about this. I'm gonna be using it eventually because, like I said, this beard's probably gonna get longer, and if it doesn't, maybe it just stays this way. Who knows? Could be that other guy like that I follow on the socials, and maybe my beard is just meant to stay like this, which is not a bad thing. But if I'm gonna be growing it for 3 years, I'm kind of like excited to see if my beard grows a little bit longer after that first year. That's the wonderment of what it's going to be. So anyways, enough of that. Let's get into the bearded legend of the week. Today's bearded legend is Grigori Rasputin. Grigori Rasputin! Yeah, so basically Grigori Rasputin was a Russian mystic and self-proclaimed holy man who gained immense influence over the family of Tsar Nicholas II, the last monarch of Russia. And of course, I am Russian descent, so, I'm not specifically like finding these beard legends and say like, oh yes, it's a Russian bearded legend. I'm just saying that, like, ChatGPT kind of gives me like a little bit of extra, inspiration to look up these memorable men of history with beards. And you can't argue, despite whether you know who Rasputin was or what he did in his history, you can't argue that this man has a very pretty good looking beard. I mean, it's a very well known beard, very well known. So well known that you will eventually find out how much influence he actually had, while he was, alive and when he was passed on. This guy continues to influence, people, and including, forms of media. I'll get into it later, but man, this guy is definitely a memorable man with a beard. So that's why he's a legendary, bearded legend for this week. But yeah, let's go into more of Rasputin. He was born a peasant in Siberia in 1869. His ability to control the bleeding of the Tsar's hemophiliac son, Alexei. And of course, hemophilia is a blood disorder that can't clot. Your blood can't clot. So if you get like pretty much cuts and everything, you'll continue to bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed for a very long time, and that's why it's a very interesting thing. If anyone wanted to know what hemophilia is, that's what it is. And he earned him an unwavering trust of Empress Alexandra. This unique access allowed him to interfere heavily in imperial politics, which deeply discredited the Romanov dynasty and contributed to its ultimate downfall. So basically, this guy had a lot of royal influence as he was, a monk. And I guess you can kind of loosely say that he was a monk because we'll get into that in a second. But first, let's talk about his royal influence and the Romanovs. Rasputin arrived in St. Petersburg around 1904. By 1908, he was regularly summoned to the palace to treat the young Tsarevich Alexei, the one who had hemophilia. Because hemophilia was a guarded state secret, no one wanted to know about the Tsar's, young Tsarevich Alexei, that was very much like kept a secret. I would assume that if that were to come out, then their country would be probably seen as weak. So they didn't want it to be seen as weak, so they kept that a secret. But the public did not understand why a dirty, illiterate Siberian peasant held such a high position at court. Who was Rasputin? I guess he was illiterate, which is fun to know. That's kind of weird. But when Tsar Nicholas II left to command troops in World War I, Rasputin effectively ran the government through Empress Alexandra, appointing corrupt officials and fueling widespread anger. Of course, why wouldn't people be angry? Hey, this guy is like running the country, and he's illiterate, and he has an interesting looking beard. I mean, yeah, look at him. I mean, would you follow him during that time? I don't know, but don't know why. But I guess his influence, not only with his beard, but his, I guess he probably had a amount of charisma to him, which I guess the way that he was also treating, the Tsar's son, Alexei, then, maybe that was also another reason. But hey. But let's get into the scandals of the Mad Monk. And by Mad Monk, I mean Rasputin. He was called the Mad Monk, which, again, you can probably see. Let me go back to this screen right here. This shirt that I'm wearing is Mad Puppets. This is my own little puppet company that I like to, make videos for. If you guys are interested, check out Mad Puppets. That's me. I'm the puppeteer. I'm the creator. Mad Puppets, guys. But I wanted to wear this shirt because of what that reminded me of, the Mad Monk. But yeah, going back to Rasputin. Look at him. He looks like he's about to do the... Anyways, that was from Monty Python's The Holy Grail. Anyways, despite his holy persona inside the palace, Rasputin was notoriously for his heavy drinking, debauchery, and sexual scandals outside of it. That's why the critics dubbed him the Mad Monk, though he was never actually an ordained monk. That's why I was like, you can kind of loosely call him a monk, because I don't think he was really that much of a serious monk at all. He wasn't even ordained, so how could you, consider him a monk? Anyways, rumors spread that he belonged to the heretical Callisti sect. I hope I'm saying that right, but whatever. Or that he was having an affair with the Empress herself, which severely damaged the reputation of the royal family. There goes my reading again. Anyways, he was so popular. Actually, let me go back to this one. Kind of skip that. But he was also a legendary assassin. Well, he wasn't a legendary assassin. It was a legendary assassination, because terrified by his political control, a group of conservative Russian nobles, led by Prince Felix Yusupov, conspired to murder him in December of 1916. His death became a thing of legend, not only with his beard, but with the assassination of his life. Accounts claim he survived being poisoned with cyanide and shot multiple times before finally drowning in the frozen Malaya Nevka River. So there were like many attempts on, trying to take this guy out. And, a few times, usually it would be a legendary situation if, someone who was trying to be assassinated so many times, but then continues to, evade the assassinations. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Clearly, Google AI also thinks so too. But he's also a pop culture legacy. You didn't know this about Rasputin, but Rasputin has been used in many forms of different media, like I was trying to allude to, so many times and so many times over. It's so interesting how this man with a beard created such a legacy for him that he would be living on for centuries through media. Isn't that funny? So, with his pop culture legacy, Rasputin remains a massive figure in modern pop culture for some reason. He was famously sensationalized in the 1978 Euro disco hit single Rasputin by Boney M, which painted him as a mystical political manipulator and love machine. I'm just a love machine, and I won't work for nobody, Rasputin. Anyways, that's not part of the lyrics, but mostly it is. He also has been portrayed in the numerous biographical films, notably by Alan Rickman in the 1996 HBO movie Rasputin, which you can see in this photo. Yeah. I mean, wait, what? That was way too close. But yeah, interesting, right? And to make things even bigger, he was also not only, portrayed in a that kind of looks like a metal carving or something, or like a metal statue. I'm not sure, but that is he when he's like, figured in a yeah, that kind of looks like, brass or something, or it could be, yeah, that looks more like brass. Anyways, and it looks like there's like a sort of a coating on top of it. I don't know if this is even real. I just looked up pictures of Rasputin, and this one was pulled up, and I thought it was interesting. But yeah, another iconic figure of his sensation of pop culture was he was in a video game. He was in a video game called World Heroes, and I mean they depicted him with his attack power as a sort of a feminine type of powerful monk, an angry monk who like does these weird things when you like when he grabs you, he kind of pulls you under, puts you in this like thing of like bushes of flowers, and it's insinuated that he is making love to you. And then when his finishing move, after he finishes a character, I played this video game when I was growing up, and I didn't realize that Rasputin was actually in this video game, and that was the character that they played the character off of, Rasputin. So anyways, if you guys are interested, check out World Heroes. That's a pretty funny game. It's like Street Fighter mixed with another form of 2D combat style fighting. So he was also in another video game called Raidu Remastered, Mystery of the Soulless Army. But yeah, pretty cool that he gets to be, put in all these different forms of media, which is very crazy to imagine that this guy, this bearded legend, is able to do that. And all because he was, just a mad monk. As well as he was in another video game called what is it called? Just Dance. It was called Just Dance. And then here is Rasputin dancing his crazy butt off, his mad monk butt off, in Russia. So yeah, pretty interesting to see this man not only influencing a royal family, a royal Tsar, but also influencing people from today, in the modern era. Crazy, isn't it? I mean, look at this guy. This guy has like, he has like a little bald patch on top of his head. I'm not going to focus on that, because I'm going to focus on this beard. And this beard. Well, that's way too close. But yeah, thank you, Grigori Rasputin, for being the legendary bearded legend. I don't know why I said that so redundantly, but thank you so much for being the bearded legend of this week. You, again, very much of a memorable figure in our history as well as our social medias. I can't imagine that they probably won't. They'll probably use you again over and over again because you created a character within something that is usable within many different forms of media. So that's pretty cool. But again, thank you so much for your contributions, your interesting, historic, you know, thing that ended up being so memorable that everyone just wanted to put you in all these different movies and shows and video games. So, yeah. And there's definitely a lot of different other things that are about Rasputin, but, I don't want to get into all of it. When I look up bearded legends, I either look up some bearded legends on ChatGPT because ChatGPT has like a pretty good amount of ideas that I can just kind of shuffle through. And then there are some other bearded legends like that I personally were inspired by, like Jim Henson. But that was my last bearded legend of the week. But this is this week's bearded legend. So thank you, Grigori Rasputin. So let's get back to this. And yeah, so basically, that's what I kind of try to do. I try to include a little bit of this and that. I've tried to be a little bit less biased into what kind of I consider a bearded legend. Obviously they have to have a beard, and obviously they have to have some major influence within the world and how it operated either in the past or how it operates now, and how people just see them as a man with a beard, because it's very interesting. Like some of the bearded legends, do have some shady history. Some of the bearded legends, are in different countries. Some bearded legends probably weren't the nicest people, the nicest guys out there. But then again, isn't there, a correlation to having a beard and not being that, not always being the nicest guy? I mean, I'm a nice guy. I'm a nice guy with a big beard. And there are plenty of men like that with big beards who are nice. But, men usually share a big spectrum of, crazy people and geniuses, inventors, and just lazy people, because we're just a big, population of men, Who run the world? Boys. Who run the world? Men. Who run the world? Yes, us. Who run the world? Who run this mother? Who run this mother? Who run this mother? Speaking of which, I wanted to get back to this this one right here. Every time I was looking at this, and because I said the Street Fighter, there's that one Hadouken, Hadouken. This is like Rasputin, Rasputin. Anyways, let me get back to that. But yeah, that's why I thought it was. I missed it, and I wanted to get back, doing that part. But I'm a silly guy with a beard, So not all bearded men are nice or mean or anything like that. If you're a bearded man, and you have a big influence on the world, you will most likely be covered within these weeks of bearded legends. So who knows who will be next? I just ended up doing this the last minute, and then ChatGPT, gave me this, and I thought, okay, well, I think I've done Rasputin before 10 years ago when I started doing that every once in a while, covering a bearded legend of, Friday's bearded legend or something. I think I used to do that, but yeah, I thought that this was an appropriate one, and I'll try to kind of mix it up. Who is it going to be? A mystic? Is it going to be a real person? Is it going to be someone that is just a character? Is it going to be who knows? Who knows who it will be next? But stay tuned for that. You guys have a great one. I always enjoy everyone watching these. Not everyone watches the live because maybe they might not have time. They might watch it later. They ever since I started going horizontal traditional live instead of the vertical live, there's barely anyone in the chat, so that's fine. Again, I'm not here to do anything particularly specific. I'm just here to talk about beards. I'm here to talk about my journey of growing a beard for 3 years. And I'm also here to, try to entertain you with my silliness and my stumbling over my words. Why not? That's who I am, and that's who I'll continue to be. I'll continue to be me. Some days are good, and some days are a little bit good, and some days are like, ooh, man, Justin, that was a terrible live. But hopefully this has been a good, enjoyable one for you. You guys have a rest of your great weekend. I'll see you next time. I'll see you tomorrow for another post. I always post daily shorts on all my medias, on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And I will also see you next week on next Saturday for another Bearded Legend of the Week, for another Beard Live. But yeah, until then, you guys have a good weekend and a good week moving forward. See you next time. And as usual, beard the course, guys. This is a San Francisco 49ers. Enjoy, guys.